All that PG left on the table yesterday. We'll see how much of anything I can make up for while doing commentary today.
Let's go on some script, but let's also stay alive to spend it.
Petrol.
Of course, we will take care of our dailies. As I mentioned at the end of talk yesterday, I and many other people stopped playing the game regularly or at all following DLC 5. So a lot of what I'm going to cover here is peripheral knowledge and stuff that I've picked up from my popping in on the game, even though I wasn't playing it regularly. Already over. Oh, there's another one to try. There continued to be new content released after the final DLC. However, it was mostly in the form of events. Although there was one other big content drop outside the DLC. And it made sense that it wasn't DLC because it was land area. They finally opened up another portion of the map. 2 portions actually. Silicon Valley and Alcatraz. While you can sort of see both of them from the mainland because of the way the swimming mechanic worked and the timeout. This one's over too. So they introduced these, of which you would get to through travel near the overpass, and the other one to travel near Coit Tower. Both of them use teleporters if you didn't have fast travel locations already unmapped, and had a little bit of story associated with them as well. The big changes here were the introduction of another enemy type, the Shrill, which, like the Hellbugs, was a mutant species as opposed to one of the potent species. And the expedition tier enemies.
Stop the raiders before they bomb
Alcatraz was not a normal location. You actually were stripped of your weapons while you were there. It was meant for socializing. You could wander around and see what your character looked like not holding a weapon. And then you could join up with expeditions, which were tiered instances like co-ops, but did not have the 4-person requirement to start. And they also continued indefinitely or until you died and ran out of willing usable hunter requisitions. Hunter requisitions was a new currency type introduced. This is basically another kind of revive when you died. You needed hunter requisitions to launch expeditions, and you could also use them to extend them, sort of like putting another quarter in an old arcade. If you saved up them enough, you could die as often as you wanted, and you would just spend a requisition to revive yourself and keep going with the promise of better gear by going deeper and deeper in terms of levels. You always started at a certain point relative to your ego, which was already kind of balanced differently. And that was another thing about Silicon Valley as well, that Silicon Valley would show the
Everyone
same
is good
threat
to
levels,
go. Let's do this.
Sure.
but
Let's
That
inflict
stockpile
some
is
pain.
no
they would
more.
actually be harder. Here we go. Gonna move back here, so I'm gonna have to redo all this now.
This is gonna be fun.
So on
Yeah.
top of the already
You probably
screwed
need
up
to.
stuff with the threat levels, you couldn't even trust the threat level number. Because if you were in Silicon Valley, the number meant something different.
We'll have to enter through the door. Take care of these guys, then I'll break the security lock. Got it. I picked up a strange signal after the override, though. Not sure what that was.
This was essentially the end game content, or their vision of it.
Unauthorized entry in the North Hall. Securing bunker.
This is fun.
Unauthorized entry in the North Hall. Securing bunker.
That explains it. Something must have triggered when we hacked the security lock.
I just tried the door. Looks like you're locked in now. Doesn't matter. We need the place spick and span anyway.
Should have run.
Finally! Did you take care of... Hey! The intruders! Kill them. I won't risk failure. The launch must begin.
Warning.
Because a new mechanic was also introduced.
Repeat. Warning.
The cyber rig.
Commencing launch sequence of Malakesh
The cyber rig would be closest to what 2050 has in terms of the synergy matrix.
There's something I said we'll regret. We have to stop that launch.
Another mechanic added
I'll
that
see what I can do up here. Keep pushing
partially
through the
angered
bunker.
people because it affected the trading of the
I
item.
found something up here. I'll let you know in a
Kind
few.
of was that.
I followed power lines that run down to the bunker. According to the blueprints, they power the generator in the next room. Shut it down, and that should stop the launch.
Beginning phase 2 of Malakesh launch sequence. Repeat. Beginning phase 2 of Malakesh launch sequence.
I think I already missed one though.
You better hurry.
Nope.
Feeling bad. You're next.
I'm running through the power down now. Don't let them interrupt it.
You should have run.
We got it! The generator is down.
Looks like you did it, Archhunters. The
So there was
launch
a
is
fair amount of
stopped.
changes that had happened before I was regularly checking in again. In addition to all of those things, they had started doing events, something that's now been carried on into 2050. Events, however,
Phase 4 of Malakesh launch sequence. Repeat.
well, you could say this was their
Phase 4
way of
Malakesh launch
extending
sequence.
people's views of collection.
The command
Before the
center is
events and the
straight
introduction
ahead.
of
Go.
event-based weapons and synergies, it was fairly easy to collect every item in the game
This is where you die.
But now, just availability-wise,
God, we need to shut those down. We're all dead.
Commencing Phase 5 of Malakesh launch sequence. Repeat. Commencing Phase 5 of Malakesh launch sequence.
Let's
you
get
had all
going.
these mechanics now that had changed, and a bunch of new stuff. And I would say the population had gone up a bit at the point that I started checking in again. But certainly wasn't back to the pre-DLC 5 levels.
This could be a challenge.
You'll never be able to stop the launch. But
Sorry.
We need to clear this area of hostiles.
Next.
But it become a fairly complex
your
system.
two
They
raids
introduced a new
in
rarity
Malakesh
level,
will finish off the
Supreme,
starter carrier and all the remaining E-Rep soldiers.
ability, another
Humans and
currency
both
type,
of
Arc
them
Forge,
are
to deal with that, new limits.
I'm at a final way in.
I would say that
He
the
has
game
launch
had
up to the
added
airdrop.
about
Without it, we won't be able to
1/3
stop the rocket.
more mechanics. Compared to where it was at launch. And this complexity made the getting everything and seeing everything certainly much more. Not saying challenges, but there was a lot more stuff now. If you were going to max everything. There's a ton of new stuff to go to, and this is particularly a topic which I've avoided at this point, which is, for a lot of MMOs, the end game is I was never a fan of inside of Defiance, mainly because it was straight up as opposed to an integration of both of the PvE PvP mix. Nothing. So the introduction of all these different weapon variations with special effects, synergies, and their special effects made PvP, which already was, for the people who did play it, really unbalanced, and there was almost a two-tier for every weapon in the game, where this is what it was like in the open world, this is what it was like in PvP. Also during this time was the winding out of the console generation.
Stop the raiders before they bomb the hell out of Headland Transit.
On to the next.
Stockpile
So
destroyed.
the question
Good
always
job.
was, what's going to happen? There were still lots of people still playing on Xbox 360 and PS3. And because of the backwards compatibility in particular with the 360, knowing that Xbox Live would still be around, they figured, you know, there's still going to be people play on this for the foreseeable future. So where a lot of people, were, like myself, were saying, why don't you get Microsoft to put the game on the backwards compatibility
Nice work.
list?
Now no one will be able to use those.
That way you don't have to have two consoles hooked up at the same time. Take advantage of the scaling and other features. And rather than outright just say, no, we're not going to do that, they pretty much ignored it. As we find out later, because they eventually did have plans to create 2050. Point in the game, because there were so many synergies, so many special weapons, they introduced these jackpot weapons that the economy went crazy. Suddenly things cost ridiculous amounts of script, particularly high-end mods and mods for specific less frequently available synergy types. This wasn't solely because of market though. One of the reasons that we don't see trading in 2050 is because of a number of issues surrounding it. The whole concept of trade. Despite having a double confirm system, people were still getting ripped off based on loose timing between the server accepting and the client sending the notification that was happening.
Target destroyed.
Some other things here. In addition to the jackpot type weapons that were tied to events, they introduced another range. They were tied to specific in-world activities, and this is when we started suffering Purgatory spam. Purgatory was a detonator very similar to a mass cannon, but because it had nano effect, it became sort of the prized weapon that people would just spam to
Target destroyed.
area effect kill as much of everything as possible. So people were constantly hunting for that, trying to find specific instances of weapons for both PvE and PvE. And the people who could play more often, and therefore collect more of these and upgrade them, they would hold a market that was now flooded with script, because just like the problem with not being able to
target destroyed.
Definitely be sure that your approved or canceled trade is not going to get screwed. Someone figured out a way to use the whole system to duplicate script. So the market became flooded with huge amounts. Beginning, of course, a few people with it, but because they were willing to pay outlandish fees for things,
Get him off me!
people who sold it to them, and therefore now had items, now had that much script, they would go on buying sprees as well, and this slowly drove prices up on things.
Brilliantly handled.
Customer service having to deal with people complaining about people getting ripped off. Doc rescue and storm. I'd like to buy a fuse to Kuso. Let's see if we can get this. One reason I'm not going into a lot of detail here is that this is really going to come up
I'm
during
detecting an incoming arc fall.
tomorrow and talking
I have
about
high hopes for
2050.
this, but let's be careful.
Just suffice to say that the layering upon layering of systems was causing problems for development because long-tail bugs not big, and sometimes new mechanics or new features, or adding a bug on top of an existing bug.
Target the glands beneath the Hellion's arms. We've got to kill it before it retreats back into the body.
Unfortunately, these filters particular weapon type clear flag. Your inventory is all like my ID, then you flag you don't want to get rid of as I'm going to sail. Why are you attacking me? I'm not attacking you!
Target the glands beneath the Hellion's arms.
Collision detection.
The symbiote is exposed. We've got to kill it before it retreats back into the body. the Hellion's arms. The symbiote is exposed. We've got to kill it before it retreats back into the body.
Our hopeless search for there actually be something good.
Come with me if you want to make some script.
So at this point, with all these content additions,
You must be looking forward.
which in general were not the type of content people were asking for, but you couldn't argue that they weren't additions, they weren't new stuff to do. But it was definitely limited story-wise. The promise of a link to the TV show really hadn't been fulfilled past the crossover with Ren. But they were bringing in some more of the lore. They introduced new types of arc breaks around the Ghoul and E. So we had more of them. And there were, like I said before, on PC, you definitely saw more people than were there after the big exodus. But there was far more of the zone filled with people yelling out that they were looking for items or wanting to trade or sell items. So it almost seemed like there was a lot less. The community before that was having fun doing stuff, now was this market that was constantly trying to find new ways to get a hold of things just so that you could have it in your inventory. You know, personally I had thousands of inventory items, but I was collecting them for, you know, at one point I was thinking I could continue Holker Cafe. But now with all the new center keys and jackpot weapons and everything like that, all the work that I had done before, there was a backbone that had to change. So I had to start collecting things, far more things than I had before, just to be able to detail them so that people could choose them as items that they had available.
Hurry, let's free them.
And it took a little while before I was convinced that kind of a hopeless task, even with documentation announcing, you know, what new items were available. So I didn't actually have to own every item myself. There was just a sheer number of these things and variations, and I would have had to fundamentally redo the way objects were organized. But back to how we were dealing with a transition to 2050.
Oh, thank goodness. Let's go!
The idea that there would be another version of the game rather than them just porting it, I don't think anyone had ever thought of, despite the fact that the number of mechanic changes done by the post-launch people really shows they had a different philosophy regarding a lot of things. and that would be carried over. The whole concept of armor plates and all that, while it doesn't exist in 2050, its foundation is the armor shield biomass, the way the shields work in 2050 on a simplified level or streamlined level.
Over here! I can't get free! Hey! Over here! I can't get free! I'm over here! I can't move! You're the best. I owe you big time.
But there was hope that the game was going to have longevity because they had introduced a new system called the Patron Pass.
But I can't get free!
After it had gone free to play, they were starting to suffer from many of the design decisions that were made early on that prevented the monetization of the game like you would in an MMO. Most MMOs, when they're not pay to win, use cosmetic items and modes and call out other things that don't affect gameplay but allow you to personalize yourself as a way to attract people to spend money. Because it allows you to support the game and have something that, while not unique, is certainly
There's a distress
limited.
signal coming from the warehouse. It must be where the captured workers are.
But the way they're able to do this is by having complicated body models that allow customization on a much deeper level than Defiance allows. Defiance only has 2 appearance items. It has an outfit, which represents the entire body except for the head, and headgear, which represents the head.
There's a lot of them. Head them off out front, and we'll come out looking secure.
We need to clear this area of hostiles.
People think that, or the speculation would be that this simplification was for consoles, but it's always hard to, say that that's
Keep it up.
definite when a game like Saints Row 2, which has a bigger map, bigger open world map, limited to 4 players in terms of 2 players in terms of the co-op and multiplayer, but it's not fully open
Keep doing
world.
what you're doing.
But it had a very complex
on their way.
customization scheme down to having separate items for underwear and separate items for your left and right wrist, like that.
Hold it together.
And it certainly wasn't the pinnacle of customization at that time period. But it was an example of
We're almost done.
here's another thing that has to deal with a fairly large open world with NPCs running around, and far more NPCs and their vehicles. But without that monetization and seemingly no way to add emotes or callouts, which are the other 2 personalized things that potentially be expanded to make you unique, or at least limited quantity, and seem to be expanding that, and it could be just because of the way of accessing the systems. We have skipped over so many things there. All the revisions the chat system went through. But the main thing I was going for here is, after going free to play, monetization options being limited, they introduced the Patron Pass. And Patron Pass being like a monthly subscription, just not required, sort of hinted that it may not have been a success for Tryon, but it wasn't a complete dud. Because if they couldn't get a certain number of people, it would be kind of a foolish thing to set up. But given that they're a private company, we don't know. We don't know what kind of numbers they were doing. Given the money you would normally typically associate with whales who are buying boxes at events, random gear drops, plus the Patron Pass, that they're taking in some kind of regular income. And this is how they were going to sustain. Obviously there couldn't have been too much cost in just keeping the servers running, but keeping employees there
Split
to
Rock Mine has been overtaken by the
answer
raiders, and
customer
we need to
support
clear this place out.
questions.
Disabling their sentry guns will get us one step closer to our goal.
Like the only question was when they were going to make the game available on newer consoles.
The turrets
PC
are
version, they
down.
wouldn't have to do anything. It was still running fine. It still had the same limitations. And that is kind of where we're going to leave off here. What 2050 does and how it was built. It shows both good and bad. What we're going to be dealing with in terms of talking about the future of Defiance and Defiance. Defiance is a brand. Come on, turkeys, eat that guy already. Tomorrow we're going to talk about 2050, which will be the present,
won't be giving us any more trouble.
And Friday will be the future. For now, let's hunker down and get the dailies done. See if I can't spend some PG.
Good work. Those turrets won't be a problem anymore.
I'll tear you apart! That's prison payoff! Getting to cover!
Generator is disabled. The gun's down.
That pisses me off!
Hello? Whoever's out there, we need some help inside the garage.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
We've been hiding in here for days without food or water. We're ready to take back our mine. We'll need to override the back gate to get to their leader. Follow me.
Okay, I've already taken that out.
Come on!
Decoy. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. Guess they don't need that gear anymore.
Let's have some fun.
I don't have a good feeling about this.
Shit! Give me a second, and I'll reconfigure them! There! Let's see how they like it!
Did you think it was going to be that easy? It's time to have some fun.
They've disabled the turrets. You're gonna have to take them out. What a mess. I don't know where the miners go from here, but at least the mine is safe for now.
Let's see if we can get some good here.
We've got an arc fall on its way. You never know what's gonna come out of those things, so take precautions. Signatures moving on our position. Careful, it could be dark matter.
on, something good. Been patient. Nothing. So I haven't seen a flawless in forever.
Drive time.
I still have to do that. Looks like we may be not doing bounties again. That thing's not going to go away until I log out. If I log out, it's going to end the stream. Pop-up? I don't know. Yep. Take care of the Kuso. Forget how much longer I've got to go before I can push into the next Defiance few. See, I don't think I bought anything from them, but it's an odd number. 1149.
Everyone is good to go. Let's do this.
But thanks for playing.
Come on.
There is no longer such a thing as only Ark Hunters. You of all humans should know that.
Got bronze yet.
Careful, we got a lot more raiders on their way.
Come on.
It's time to go mental.
Let's record this boredom.
The rest of the team is ready. Transporting now.
Hey, at least the header stopped showing up.
This is gonna be fun.
Oh. And now I need facilities break.
3, 2, 1.
Luckily there's these gaps. score on this is so ridiculous.
Now this will be fun.
got bronze.
What will live and what will die?
So it wasn't enough to push us over. I just don't care enough about that. So I'm going to end it here. Maybe it'll be better luck tomorrow.